flosstube 9, take like 6. Ah, man. For some reason, and I don't know why, my computer keeps shutting off the program that I use to record these. And it's not like it's completely shutting out of the program, it's just stopping the recording. It has been so frustrating. I don't know why. It's only happening today. I think it might be because my stack of stuff is right next to my keyboard. And I think it's like slipping and hitting the space bar and stopping the recording. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're here. Hello, everybody. My name is Crystal, also known as Skuldsbane. Welcome to flosstube number 9. Welcome to my little channel. For those of you who are brand new here, thank you for clicking on the little button and seeing what I have to say and seeing what's going on. If you like what you see here, you know what to do with that whole, follow and like and subscribe and all that jazz down below. For those of you who are returning, hi again, welcome back. Thank you for coming back in. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Now, last week, I did something a little bit different, and I want to send a very, very special thank you to my friend Yasmina. She and I were actually talking about that video earlier today, and she was giving some suggestions on things that I could do to help capture people's attention, and so they wouldn't get bored with the videos. I'm learning, y'all. Yasmina, thank you so much for that. I will be putting some of the suggestions into use starting next month because that is going to be a monthly thing. flosstube is still going to be every 2 weeks. And thank you for everybody who clicked on that and watched even a few seconds. I do appreciate it. It'll get better, I promise. Secondary special thank you to my friend Elizabeth, who was losing her absolute mind one day because that's what happens sometimes. I think at least most of us go through those days where just everything gets overwhelming and you need the distraction. And to distract her, she went through and was watching a bunch of my older videos and commenting, and you're amazing and I love you. And then she also went through my Instagram from current to like 2015, which was just mind-blowing and amazing. Please do it more. I love you, you little troll. I love your face. You're good people. You're good people. But that's enough of that. Let's talk about stitching. It was first thing that I was working on. I was actually working on it today. I was waiting for a phone call that didn't happen. It's part of the ongoing job hunting, which we'll talk about later in life stuff, which is great and fine and dandy. But I was sitting here and I was waiting for this phone call to come in, and I don't have a picture of what it's going to look like when it's complete. But I was working on the Creepy Christmas Village. This is ornament number 6. Ta-da! Little bitty guys, but of course they are. They're ornaments. This is Creepy Christmas past, present, and yet to come. And again, this is ornament 6 out of a collection of 6. I got quite a bit done on it. I did a lot of the light green. I put in all of the dark blue, the light blue, all the green here, a bunch of the reds, finished up with the black over here. That is a tombstone that got put in. So I got a fair bit done on this week. Once I finish these, you've seen the rest of them. You've seen the other 5. So once this one gets completed, I'll show you all of the finishes. Unless I go ahead and just fully finish all of them, I do have the fabric that I want to use for the backing to make them into ornaments. Because, yeah, they're going on our tree, man. We're those people. So that was what I was working on this morning. And I've changed the way that I stitch. I've been trying to experiment a little bit and do things a little bit differently. What I was doing before is I was actually going through and picking out what I wanted to work on. And I'd sit and I'd work on that for 2 or 3 days. And I'd have 2 or 3 projects sitting stacked next to me, and I kind of pick through them and work on them as I wanted to. For the last 2 weeks, when I sit down to stitch, and I really haven't gotten that many projects out to stitch, but because other things have been going on. But when I sit down to stitch, I'll pull another project. I have one of the Kallax units, or it used to be called Kallax, I don't know what it is anymore, from IKEA. They're the same type of units that Laura has, Stitching by the Shore has, in the background. And she's talked about the storage before, and they've got the big, like the squares, you know. One of those squares is full of projects. A lot of them have project bags. A couple of them do not, but only because I've been too lazy to actually put them in the bags. That is changing. My goal is to get them all in bags this coming week. But I'll just reach in and yank out something, and that's what I will work on for that day. And I will stitch for one day on that particular project. And that could mean anything from I got one strand of floss in and it's like 50 stitches to I think one of them I put in 3,000 stitches on one day, which we'll be getting to. So instead of sitting and kind of picking through and I kind of want to work on this and I kind of want to work on that, it's just been a random grab, sit down and go. So that's what's been happening. It's been working well for me the last couple of weeks. I think I'll stick with that for a while. We'll see how it continues to go. And that does include things that I haven't picked up in a little bit, like the ornaments. There are 2 in here that you haven't seen for a while that are going to be coming up as well. This one you have seen recently. This is the Pavane for These Times by Long Dog. And I did quite a bit on this guy these past 2 weeks. Look at that. That is the full width of the project. This is being done on 37 count eiderdown by Legacy Linen, I think. If I'm wrong, corrections will be posted below. All of the information for all of the projects is posted below. The ornaments are being done with a DMC and partial anchor conversion on London Fog by Jackson Fabric Arts. This is being done, the Pavane for Our Times is being done on the 37 count eiderdown by Legacy Linen. And I'm actually not using embroidery floss. This is a quilting thread, a Coats & Clark's variegated quilting thread that I just love the colors of, and it's working for me. This has been a lovely thing to work on. Last time we saw it, I had gotten a couple of these little curly cues done up at the top and had the entire center stock. So I did, sorry about this. I did this entire part here and then all the way across the top. And as I said, this is the entire width, and then that's half the height of the finished project. So I got a fair amount done on this. I just sat down and was doing really well, buzzing through there. You know, I've said before that I'm not really a big sampler stitcher. I generally prefer doing full coverage. But for some reason, I don't know if it's just because they're working up quickly or it's very repetitive. It's just been really soothing to work on samplers recently. And I've been enjoying it. So, I don't know. I may be converted, maybe not. No judgment either way, please. Or judge me, I don't care. Tell me you're disappointed. Tell me you're glad. Talk to me. Talk to me, Goose. Um, but the information, as I said, it's all going to be down below. It's all in the comments. I was actually watching somebody last week, and they were talking about how they had a Google Doc or something similar set up so that they had a link. And then if they forgot to mention like the fabric or the floss or whatever, some sort of information, all the information on the projects was in this Google Docs link. And then they just kept updating the Google Docs spreadsheet rather than trying to track. I don't know. But I've been considering trying to do something like that. Let me know if that's something that you would like me to do. I mean, I don't have that many projects started. I will have 2 more new starts coming up soon-ish. I just kitted them up. I was cleaning this hot mess of a desk, and I found a Joann's gift card, and I had one in my book of wealth, which is my wallet. My wallet is a book of wealth. And I was just feeling down on myself one day, and I decided I needed to get out, so I went to Joann's, and I kitted up, or I got the floss for. I didn't kit up. I already had the beads and the patterns and the fabric that I'm going to use. So I got and the silks. So I got all of the DMCs for 2 Mirabilia patterns. One is the Lady of Mystery, and the other one is, I think it's called Red. It's sitting over there, and I'm not going to get it because there is no pausing. There is no pausing in YouTube. There's no editing in YouTube, except for to add, like, the pictures and an occasional caption. But that's it. That's it. That's all the editing. No more. Yeah. But I do have those 2 kitted up, so those will be new starts when I pull the project bags, because they're in their own project bags, and when I yoink those, then they'll get started. Related to that, actually, and related to the afternoon at Joann's, I hit up the remnant bin, and I got a whole bunch of fabric. So some of the fabric, the project bags, I'm going to start working on those and be putting some up in my Etsy shop, which will be linked below. Right now it's like empty. There's like 4 things in it, 5 things in it. There's just nothing there. But I got some of the supplies to be able to start doing the project bags. Some will be vinyl printed, some will be fully quilted, so there's no vinyl because I know some people don't like the vinyl prints. But those will be going up within the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested, and if you're not, then you're not, and that's up to you. I'm not going to push. It's just there as an option. All right, back on track. Get off that left turn. All right. I had been talking about, for the last few floss tubes, I've been talking about doing the Christmas stockings for the family. I have this grand plan that I know is not going to work out because my grand plans never work out, and it's going to be amazing either way. But my grand plan is to finish this first stocking by the end of the year, which I can totally do. It's going quickly. And then the other 4 stockings, if I do one every 3 months, that's going to be, I'll be able to get them done for use at Christmas 2025. I know better than to say it's absolutely going to happen because I know what they look like. These are big dreams, y'all. Big dreams. But this is one that I have been working on so far. This, if my camera would focus, there we go. This is the skating stocking. Now, all of the stockings will be done. They're all done from kits. So the fabric is from the kits. The floss is from the kits. I'm using the needles from the kits. The only thing that I'm questioning using is the felt backing, because I have nice cotton, quilting cotton, and I'm thinking about, instead of doing, they've got the red felt for the back of the stocking. Instead of doing that, I'm thinking of quilting a stocking back and then lining the back of my stitching. Because it's you don't want that to come loose. That's my back. I'm showing you my butt. But you don't want any of that to come loose. So, you put the stabilizer or the what's it called? The iron-on interfacing. My brain, y'all. You put the interfacing on the back and then cover it with a second fabric. So I'm thinking of doing that all in the quilting cotton, rather than using the felt, and then that felt can be used for other things. But this is where I'm at with the first stocking. Anyway, I didn't get a whole lot done on it. This was my first day of stitching after doing the last flosstube, and I couldn't, there was other stuff going on, so I got those windows filled in here, and then I got the last 2-3 colors of the sky up here because that wasn't completed, the third color, and I got all that done. So not a whole lot, but it is still coming along quite nicely. And with this being in dimensions, you've got some of this is like 3 or 4 strands, and then you've got 2 strands, you've got 1 strand, you've got 2 strands down here, you've got half stitches, you've got full stitches. It's gonna be beautiful when it's done. But if you look in the sky, you can see focus. You can see some of the fabric showing through on the darker, which is fine. Again, that's great. That's what it's doing. It's fine. But there were actually supposed to be some open spaces in there to be filled in with white full cross. There were supposed to be either stars or snowflakes or whatever. I didn't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do the French knots that are supposed to be the falling snow. It will be fine without it, and just no. So that's the one modification so far that I've made to this pattern. But it's coming along. I can definitely get this done by the end of the year. The curve to start coming out this way is going to be right about there, I believe. Yeah. And then a large portion of, if you look at like down the pond where they're skating, that's all the blue fabric showing through. So it's going to be full coverage here and around the pond. The trees are obviously not full coverage. You see the blue through them. So it's not going to take that much more, I don't think. Famous last words. I don't think it's going to be much. Yeah. We all know how that goes. We know exactly how that ends. It's not going to be bad at all. And a year later. This one, though. This one is probably going to take one more little stitchy session, and it's not going to be much at all. This is from Sherman's Stitching Emporium. It is the Rampaging Tortoise. Look at that angry little face. Isn't he so cute? But I got this one because there's this whole big thing with the Man-Thing's mom. They live on a lake, and their issue is not tortoises, but turtles. There's this whole big thing that we've got going that we're going to film, the Night of the Tortugas, in which all the turtles come together and they try to invade the house, and they've got their turtle army, and therefore it makes sense to have a rampaging turtle, not tortoise, but this is close enough. And that's what it's going to look like when it's finished, and what I've got so far. Look at him, isn't he cute? I did cut the fabric way too small, and I know that, but this was also just a scrap of something that I had left over, and it seemed to be about the right size, and I measured it, and I knew that the stitches would all fit on there. It's going to be made into a little throw pillow. I say little, it's probably going to end up being a decent size throw pillow. So I'll be able to border it and add other things to help stabilize it and not have the fabric unravel quite as much. But the last time we saw this guy, he just had some of the dark brown spots. So the entire lighter brown of the shell fell in, and his stomach and his little leggies and the shape of his head. That's all been done since the last time he came out. This is one of those that's been sitting on that shelf, and just luck of the draw, I reached in and grabbed the bag that he was in. He's so cute. So cute. The stitching should be finished with one more stitchy session. I'm actually going to purposefully leave him out so that next time I do a floss tube in 2 weeks, we'll be able to actually have a finish. I'm shaming myself for not having finishes. Okay, I'm done. Do not need to have a finish every floss tube, obviously. I was talking about the project bags, and this is one of the project bags that I did. Obviously, it has the vinyl front. Cute little Christmas gnomes. Aww. And just standard zip. So this is 12 by 14 inch, I want to say. So a decent sized bag. And held in this bag is this guy. This is Sleepy Hollow. And again, I'll have the information about the chart and everything below. This is the one that I did thousands of stitches on, and I was having a day. I was glad I pulled this one out because I was able to get a lot done on him without having to think too much. Focus. Good job, camera. There we go. Now, what I did, and what I've been doing with my full coverages is I always start upper right-hand corner, or usually start upper right-hand corner. There's a couple of projects that I've started recently lower right-hand corner, which has been a little bit weird, but it's working. But what I did was I pulled out a single skein of a color, and I tend to do this with all my full coverages. I'll start in the upper right-hand corner, so I'll start with that color that first stitch is in that corner, and I'll do an entire skein of that color. It's not full color completion for the entire piece because that would just drive me bonkers and involves way too much counting, but like for this, I put in the entire skein of black, and then next is the darker brown. So I pulled out the darker brown and did an entire skein of the darker brown, and then the lighter brown, and then the lighter brown. So, and that just seems to work well. It makes the stitching go quickly, and I'm able to do enough. That's enough to do 2 or 3 days worth of stitching with a single color, which is enough to get a lot of stitches in, but not necessarily enough for me to get bored and frustrated enough to want to put it away and never get it out again. So that's what works for me. No judgment if that's not what you do. It's just what works. That's what happens with my brain. That's what makes my brain happy. But what I did this time was I did this entire black up here, uh, this right here, and his cloak, and part of that's a lot of the horseman's body through there, and I did all of that black. Was a full skein of black that got worked. So this is where he is at. And this is being done on, I believe it's an 18 count, 2/2, with just all the called for DMCs. Also, please excuse the sniffles. Allergies are killer. I'm going to have to take an allergy pill. I'm going to SeaWorld this evening for a bachelorette party because the bride, instead of having a standard bachelorette party, wanted to have the people in the bridal party go to Hallow Scream, which is the evening part of the SeaWorld where they've got the haunted houses and the scare zones and the rides are open and there's drinkies, and so that's happening tonight. Yeah, that's gonna be. I took a nap earlier today because there was no way. I'm getting old and cranky, and there's no way that I would have been able to stay up until piss all in the morning. I think it closes at like 2 or 3, and be able to get back home without having taken a nap. So I took a nap. Alright, next one that I worked on is Be Like a Crow by Erica Michaels. Now what I'm doing is that big one right in the middle there, and oh, come on, focus. It's not wanting to focus well, but it reads, Be like a crow, collect shiny things, hop happily down the street for no apparent reason, scream loudly when you see your friends. And I had been looking for this for months, and I finally went on 123 Stitch, and I saw it, and I told the man thing, I'm like, no, but we're not waiting. I am buying this right here, right now. I will pay one of my personal bills late to be able to get this. It's freaking happening. And he just kind of, fine, do your do. So I got it. And I actually had the lovely people at 123 Stitch kit up everything, all the fabrics, all of the flosses, etc., etc., etc. And then I did not read the instructions before I started because I'm that person and I just jumped in. Evidently, it's supposed to be stitched in tent stitch. Not whole cross, not full cross. So, that's what it's supposed to look like. Now, they sent enough of the Weeks mascara to do tent stitch. Right? I'm going to run out. There's not enough because I'm doing full cross. And I was not able to find the Weeks mascara. The local shop that I go to was out. However, they did have, this is a Threadworks, it's a number 11213. It's a little bit more gray than the mascara. Let's see if I can make this work. It's a little bit more gray, not quite the right color, but it'll work. But they also had Gentle Art Black Crow. Now, I don't know about you, but I love the idea of using the crow floss color. It's literally named Black Crow on a crow-themed piece. It's also a much closer, I mean, you can see the difference. I think the camera's picking it up, and you can see the difference. It's much closer to the mascara. So I'm going to end up having to use Black Crow just because I couldn't get any more mascara. But I love it. I love everything about it. And again, it's the Be Like a Crow pattern. This is another one you haven't seen in a while. And here is where I am. Last time you saw this, I was working on the row of crows down here. I'd gotten to, I think, about there. So I put in the 4 crows and the breath coming out and this little squiggly, like fog-like looking, which I did not think was going to show. I was stitching it out and I was sitting there going, there's not enough contrast. It's not going to pop. Trust the designer. Trust the designer. Erica Michaels is amazing. She knows what she's about. Trust the designer. I see it now. I see it on camera. I see it in person, and it's lovely. It works. And then I did also put in the words down the apparent reason. Working on getting that whole phrase in there. But that's what I was able to do in the one day while having my attention pulled 700 different directions, and just because my life is my life. Chaos reigns. This is one, though, that because of that questioning that one color, I went to either do, because there's also the berry, and then there's 4 little pillows. So I'm thinking of doing either the berry or the pillows, but not as pillows, but as ornaments. And instead of doing the called for colors, obviously keeping the black for the crows, and then just going hog wild and having fun with it. So that's my thought. Let me know, because again, your opinions matter here. Let me know what you think of that. If you think that's something that would be fun to do, if it's something you'd like to see. Even if it's not, I think I'm going to do it anyway, but I do like to hear from you. You can shame me for making terrible decisions. I shame myself for making terrible decisions. It's all good. We're loose around here. It's fine. But let me know if that's something, or if you know of somebody who's done alternative colors with this particular pattern or set of patterns or whatever you want to call it. I'd like to see before making a full decision on any of that. And the last one that I worked on over the last 2 weeks was for the Lena Ova Sal, and I shamed myself and I yelled at myself for not updating the hashtag Lena Ova Sal on Instagram, since I'm one of the hosts. Laura from Stitching by the Shore and I are co-hosting, and I just haven't updated the Instagram. So I did. I shamed myself into doing it. But this is Dracula, is the one that I worked on this time. And in the last flosstube video 2 weeks ago, I told you about this little dilemma that I ran into, in which I cannot do math. I'm a historian, not a mathematician. And I had gotten the Night Stalkers calling Hocus Pocus. And I'd gotten 10 skeins, and if I wanted to continue doing 2 over 2, it was going to take 11. Now, I do have to admit, this is the first time I've ever used Night Stalkers Calling's products at all, and I love it. It's super high quality. I've been really enjoying working with it. That said, I asked for opinions, I asked for suggestions, and a few suggestions were made. Thank you, everybody who commented or who approached me privately with suggestions. And I decided that I was going to try, instead of doing 2 over 2, doing 1 over 2, at least in some parts, just to be able to stretch. Y'all, I started doing that, and I got mad at myself. Because I started doing the 1 over 2, and I was mad at myself for making as much progress as I did. Because now I want to pull out all of the 2 over 2 and start over with 1 over 2, and I am not going to allow myself to do that. I'm not going to put myself through that at all. Not happening. But because I am really, really loving the look of the 1 over 2. Now I'm going to pull it in real close here. There we go. You can see, here's the 2 over 2 over here. That element, this direction, is the 1 over 2. You can see that when I put it in real close there, and look at that fabric. Look at how sporkly it is. I am loving the opal fabric. It's the first time I've ever worked with it. I love it. But as I pull it back, the difference gets that much sharper. And with this particular fabric and this particular pattern, it really fits the aesthetic more. So I am now, excuse me as I get crud out of my eyeball, I apologize. Oh, no editing. No editing in YouTube. In flosstube. But I'm now yelling at myself because it fits the aesthetic that I'm going for more than the 2 over 2 does. It's still not going into timeout. I'm just going to continue doing the 1 over 2. And then when I get down to, because this is the upper right hand corner, so when I get down to the lower left hand corner, it's a square piece, square pattern. And this is approximately half of the height. So I'd say this is about 1/3 of the way across the top. But I'm thinking when I get to the lower left hand corner, I'm going to go ahead and do more of the 2 over 2 to kind of balance it out, instead of having it seem really, really, really top heavy on the one side. And then possibly do some of the elements, like Dracula himself in a 2 over 2, maybe the bat that's in the pattern, which I'll put the pattern up here again so that you can kind of compare and see what I'm talking about. But this is where I would really, really like your opinions. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that would work out well. I'm hoping it will. I'm really hoping it will. I have no guarantees whatsoever. But it would be stellar, absolutely stellar if it did. But that's my thought. If you have other thoughts, again, please, more suggestions, let me know. I would just get another skein, but because they're hand-dyed and they've got the dye lots, dye lots, man. The bane of our existence, but also a blessing in disguise because it makes you think outside the box. But the fabric itself I think it's just perfect for this particular project. It is Olympia Opal Lugana by Mystic Fabric. And you saw how sparkly it was when I had it up close. But it's also got the type of modeling that makes it look grungy and old and just, like, look at that. But with that sparkle in there. You cannot miss that. This is another one of those where it's just start working on the border and zone out, and life slows down and it's just super relaxing. I don't know. I don't know. I may be converting. I may be converting. That's what I've got for the stitchy stuff for this week. If that's all you're here for, thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate all of you taking the time to come by, say hello, spend some time with me, gawk at all the pretties, make fun of the mistakes that I make. I'm making fun of myself for making them. So absolutely encourage you to do the same. Please be salty at me. I deserve it. We all do, at least a little bit. And if we can't face them with a little bit of humor, with a sense of humor about it, then what are you even doing? What is your life that makes you so bitter? Something I had to learn the hard way. So speaking from experience, if you can loosen up and poke fun at yourself, my God, life is so much better. Yes, if that's all you're here for, again, please like, subscribe if you like what you're seeing. I appreciate you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. If you're interested in some of the other stuff, thank you for staying with me. Like I said earlier, I officially have one whole video up in the Doing Things on a Budget in the Central Florida area series. And that video is for the Museum of Seminole County History. That's the one that I volunteer at. That's the one there where I'm going to be one of the guides for the haunted tours on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. I do know that at least 2 of the tours are completely sold out, and all proceeds from this go to the Historical Society. So it's actually for a good cause to help promote all of the historical everything within the county. And it's just a lot of fun. I love. We've got some new stories this year. It's going to be great. You're going to see me all dressed up in some of my historical garb. We get to talk about ghosties. We get to do some ghosty hunting. Good stuff. Good stuff. So I do have that one. I think for the next one, I'm not sure if I'm going to do, because the Sanford City Museum, which is a free museum, they actually have, excuse me, my nose itches, they actually have their own flosstube channel, which I linked, or flosstube channel, they actually have their own channel for the museum. Again, making fun of myself, because I just made a mistake. Whee! But they have their own channel for the museum. They've been updating quite a bit recently. I put a link to that 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Yes. And the video for the Museum of Seminole County History that I put up last week, I was actually there because I'm working on transcribing some old letters. That's what I'm doing for my volunteer work there currently. The Man Thing was actually out. They were doing a Seminole County War encampment on the museum grounds. And the Man Thing participates in that. So he was all dressed up in funny clothes and carrying around weapons and just having fun, honestly, until it all got rained out. And then we went into the back building. On that day, we went into the back building, and because they were still working and they were still doing the reenactment of period stuff that would have been done, we started gambling. We started playing dice with plastic reproduction coins. And we had actually a few people come in through there and learn about playing dice and drinking games, which led into what exactly was camp-like life, which led into well, what happened with this, and what happened with this, and what happened with this, and there were three lovely women who came in, and we sat there for probably an hour, hour and a half, and just had conversations about, well, what happened with this guy, and what happened then, and I have a question about this, and what about like the fabric, and what is this clothing then, and well, what about the swords? Tell me about the weaponry and how this worked. It was amazing. I love doing stuff like that. So that happened. Um, my brain went sideways. Skirp. The stuff with the wedding has been happening. So that's really gearing up. The wedding is going to be in, I believe it's like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks-ish, somewhere in that area. So that's all gearing up and that's all exploding, and that's been taking up some time in my life, which is amazing. I am so happy for them. They're awesome people. I love them to death. And it's going to be great. It's going to be freaking fabulous. That's coming up. I have, speaking of weddings, there are 2 within the next year and a couple of months. One is up on the East Coast. One is in the Philadelphia area. That was not publicly announced yet. Oops, sorry y'all. Not saying who, but a couple of friends of mine in the Philadelphia area are going to be getting married at about this time-ish next year. And then I've got another couple of friends up in New York State, not city, New York State, who are going to be getting married June of next year. So this is all big and explosive and everything happening. Still hunting for a job. I was actually telling the man thing a couple of days ago because he's getting nervous because I haven't heard anything back. But it's only been, I was let go on the 27th of August. And what makes it the hardest was the fact that rent was due on the 1st. If they had waited for one more paycheck, and after rent had been paid, we would not be in as much of a pickle as we're in. We're still okay. We've got, rent has been paid for October. We've got enough to pay rent for November. We're fine. We're great. But he was getting nervous because I hadn't heard back anything from anybody, and I told him, hasn't even been a month and a half. Jobs have to be posted up for a certain amount of time, and then it takes couple of weeks to go through all the resumes. It takes a couple of weeks to go through all of the interviews, etc., etc., etc. So I should start hearing back pretty soon. I got 3 rejection emails yesterday, so at least the timing was right. Still looking. We're getting there. We're getting there. I'm picking up some gig stuff and small contracts, so we're okay. We're okay. All the bills are being paid. We're going to have enough for November. If I keep up and the luck keeps going, we'll have enough for December too. But there's just been a lot going on, and life has been busy. But also at the same time, with all of this happening and all of the not so good stuff that's been going on, it's also given me enough time to focus on being able to clean up the apartment and get everything in order, because I hadn't been able to before, because there was all this type of life is busy plus working a 40-hour work week, which was just getting to be too much, and everything was falling behind. So now I'm getting caught up on some of the things, and I've been doing extra things. I'll be talking about next week's video is not going to be a floss tube. It's going to be, I'm going to be focusing on, once a month, I'll be focusing on some of the sewing projects that I have going. I did have, it's all the way over there. I did have on Instagram, I put up a photo of, this is my 3-year plan for a wardrobe. I've already gotten started on it. I've gotten 3 more things ticked off on that list of things that I need to do to have my 3-year complete capsule wardrobe. And I was able to get more shirting fabric. So I'm getting set up for continuing on that. So that's going to be once a month that there will be something along that line. I'll be talking about that next week, and also because I had promised like 2 years ago and never did it, the mug rugs. I'll be doing a video on how to finish the mug rugs, which I think I could put a link to the mug rug video. I think I can. But either way, it's on my channel. You can search it, you can find it. And I'll be putting a tutorial on how I personally finish them. So there's been a lot. There's been a lot going on, and a lot of it has been really, really good. I've been able to get back into baking. I've been able to get back into cooking more. We're eating healthier because I have the time to be able to do the homemade foods and so there's just been a lot. It's just been different. And in some ways, the different has been very, very good. And I'm counting my blessings on that. Anyway, you just heard the clock. It's been a hot minute. This is a long video. I would apologize, but I'm not sorry at all, because this is how my life is. Sometimes it goes long. Sometimes I barely have anything to talk about. This is a longer one. Thank you all. I love you all. Have an awesome day. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna eat before I leave to go down to SeaWorld, because I was told that we're meeting at the bar at one of the drink stations. And I need food in me before I go do that, since I'm going to be driving home again at the end of the night. So it's gonna be freaking awesome. It's gonna be great. Love y'all. See you next time.